Good morning. Denise Dryden here from Bainbridge Island. And this is the sunny day. It's going to be amazing outside. I think it's the 5th sunny day in a row since I've been here, and it's just celebratory. That's all I can say. So as soon as I'm done here, I'm going to get some breakfast and then go out for a hike and get out there in that sun. I hope you do too. So this is part 4 of the Holidays Through the Eyes of the Sensitive. And I thought it was a really good idea to keep building an understanding of sort of what comes up with sensitives during the holidays, what works, what doesn't work, and sort of just a different level of awareness. So today it's called the needs and wants, and this is my children, if they watch this, they're going to go like, oh mom, here she goes again. Because I taught or facilitated a voluntary simplicity course way back when in Bend, and then ran a radio show for about 7 years. And this was always every single December, or sometimes even November, to get ready for it. We talked about wants and needs. What's the difference between these two? And wants and needs get really scattered when it comes to a sensitive. So let's walk through that and find out what I mean by that, okay? So hang in there with me. We'll get there. So the sensitive craves and needs genuine celebrations and exchanges, period. You know, they need something to be genuine. They need to be able to feel it. They need to be able to understand it. And in a culture where there's customary gift giving, it's kind of crazy making for the sensitive to figure out what works and what doesn't work for them, right? And so there's this whole confusion, chaotic overwhelm that happens. So we know that sensitives have a higher neurological data input, higher than 80% of the population. And that because there's more data coming in, and because there's different than I am different than the rest of the population, it becomes really easy to focus on the external. Focus on what's going on out there, because what's going on out there is always coming at me. And I need to manage it, and I need to dodge from it, and I need to manipulate it, and I need to control it. But it's really about focusing on the external, because that's the way things come in. So what you find, especially during the holidays, especially when there's kids involved, is there's a lot of comparing. There's a lot of observing. There's chameleon sort of behavior, like trying to fit in. There's reaction, overwhelm. They become really impulsive, reactive, and overwhelmed. Indecisive, apathetic. And there's this, if my friends are doing that, which it's really hard to separate between what an adolescent does at this particular age and what is that internal seeking all the time within a sensitive, which is, oh, they're doing that. Oh, they're doing that. I need to duplicate that. Because there's a lack of sense of self in a lot of children, especially if they're not well nurtured, if they're not well guided through their sensitivity. So their internal guidance system is not at peace. And gift giving is, when it's part of their life, especially during this holiday season, it makes it really erratic, which is, what? You want me to get presents for this person? I don't even like them. And you want me to pretend like I like what they just gave me? Are you kidding me? And so there's this, it's kind of, like I said earlier, a little crazy making. So we're going to go one by one through some of this. So the first thing is that there's this ongoing perfectionism, which is, this is what I see, this is what I believe, this is what I know, and this is the bar that I'm going to set. And there's a constant level of crafting how to get to that level of perfectionism, and frustration that it doesn't exist or that it's not attainable. So that's one. Impulsive. If they identify with the big stuff, they identify with, if I had the newest video game, if I had a car, if I have the newest iPhone, if I had an iPad, then I'd be okay. So it usually focuses on the big stuff. And whether we're children or adults, it's the same way. I identify my self-worth with what the big things are out there, whether it's clothes, phones, music, cars, toys. with what other people, commercials, what we see other people thoroughly enjoying. And we want to have that kind of enjoyment, right? We want that joy, so we go after it. They don't know what they want. They don't often know why they want it. They just know that if they have it and they look happy, I want that. And this is really impulsive. It changes frequently. It changes like, I want this, I want this, I want this. And it's erratic. And then other times it's, as you've heard with that broken record, it never changes. This is what I want, this is what I want, this is what I want, this is what I want. And that may be affordable and that may not be. So the third one is expectations. You know, some are seen and known, and some are under the surface and unknown. Like, I have no idea why you want that or what that's all about. And it's usually connected to self-worth, image, acceptance, or some sort of event or some sort of concept of self. And there can be this deep reaction to when that expectation is not met. It can be explosive if you have someone who holds anger and just like, again, it never fails. You guys just never listen to me. Or they isolate and withdraw and they go like, they never heard me. They didn't know what I wanted. Now this is also complicated when there's this association with, if you love me, you will. If you see me, you will. And if you want to empower me, you will. And then when those needs are not met, when that want and those needs are not met, there's this self-implosion. Does that make sense? Yeah, I hope so. So let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4 is the lack of appreciation and apathy that happens. And if you've been around a sensitive, you totally know this. There's a disconnect sometimes between what is possible. You know, I was a single mother raising 3 kids, and grandparents and their dad could provide them with really big presents. I could not. But there was an expectation or a disconnect that if I loved them, I would. Not necessarily saying that it played out, but it was hard. Maybe that was just the story in my head a lot of times. It can be misread. You know, this lack of appreciation, you know, it's like, what happens when you misread what your kid really wants or what your spouse really wants or what you think you need, and then you get it and you're like, I didn't even really want that. So the other thing so that's what happens when there's this lack of appreciation is sometimes it's like, I got it, so I got it, but I don't even know, especially if it traces back to that impulsivity, I don't even know if I really wanted it. And it doesn't even look interesting anymore. And we see that with a lot of entitled kids, a lot of kids who get way too many presents during the holidays, you know, 20 packages to open. It's really hard to have an appreciation when that much comes in. A lack of empathy, which is connected to this, is a lot of times we'll see somebody put something down and say like, no thanks, or yeah, thanks, you know, and not even show an appropriate or even a genuine, you know, like excitement for getting that. So when that happens, pay attention. Are there strings attached? Is this designed to direct or manipulate? Like, hey, I got you a trampoline so that you can get out and get more exercise. I got you clothes a size smaller so that you have goal. I mean, we've seen it on This Is Us. We've seen it on a lot of different television shows. What happens when the things we give are aimed at manipulating or directing? And then there's also that thing of the people who give to get. Like, I'm going to give this to you, I'm going to give this to you, I'm going to give this to you. So knowing that a sensitive is intuitive and they're watching all of this, they're like, yeah, I'm not going to give her what she wants from this. I'm not going to play the game. And so sometimes the whole idea of getting something isn't congruent with what they see in their head or the story that they know, right? 5, giving back. How often have we been in a situation with someone who doesn't know how to give in return, and what might be going on underneath that? So sometimes it's, gosh, it's just like amazing. You saw me. You got something that I really was eyeing and touching, and you saw me, and that mattered. And then you know, there's that time when you get something that's sort of erratic and under pressure and it doesn't even really reflect you and you're like, oh, okay. And then there's this sort of hurt feeling sometimes where giving back is like, I don't even want to do this. I don't want to play this game of taking care of a bunch of people with a lot of smiles, and I don't like the whole idea of being mandated to do something for somebody else. Sometimes they can't decide. That indecisiveness, that inability to formulate what really matters can turn into procrastination, and then go into shame, and it's like, I just didn't get you anything. I'll shoot you $50 on Venmo. You know, you can go get what you want. And, you know, it's still, at its core, the message is that I don't know how to give. I'm not paying attention. I'm overwhelmed. I don't want to play this game. I don't understand what you really want or why. So I'm apathetic. I don't have any interest, right? So 6, right, is sometimes there's just this misfits, right? When we're out of sync with another person. An example is getting something from a family scenario where there's like lots of phones and stereo systems and everything, and you're giving a picture that's crafted with a little story of them, because you spent weeks putting together a collection of like, what's the best picture, and you wrote a poem or a story about that, and everyone who's all into big expensive things go, oh, thanks. So what happens when you're out of sync, right? When what matters to you doesn't matter to someone else, or what matters to them doesn't matter to you. Different focuses, different priorities, and a lot of times it could be unmet desires. Time together, connection, shared experiences. You know, that we have a different set of expectations. We have a different set of things that we want to do, things we want to do for the holidays. So remembering that sensitives are intuitive and often empathic, this can get really scrambled and out of whack during chaos, and holidays often have chaos. It can be intense and hurtful if the information involves some of the following, like when integrity comes into it, where gift giving is meant to persuade, motivate, cover up, hide, pretend, or glory seek. You know, it's like, oh, here he goes again. This happens during the holidays. You know, that intuitive is going like, wow, I can tell why this one showed up. And so the integrity isn't behind the gift giving. Consistency. I know that it's sometimes really hard to have a obligatory present in a card come by once a year from someone that doesn't know you, doesn't talk to you, doesn't want to get to know you, and they don't have a deep relationship. And it's the word I would use is obligatory. It's kind of like we send out the obligatory Christmas cards, and sometimes it's like, hey, once a year I get to reach out and let everybody know what I'm doing. But I think those days are sort of gone. Now it's more like you can FaceTime, you can Zoom, you can email back and forth, you can exchange pictures. There's so many different things you can do to say you matter to me, and my relationship with you is something that I want to continue to work on, or to play with. You know, it means showing up. So another thing that can get in the way is actions versus words. You know, what happens when they're incongruent, like promises, or hey, I got this so we could do this together, and the sensitive's like, wow, finally, and then it doesn't happen, right? It's out of sync. Hello there. And so what happens when actions and words don't match, and they're unkept, or they're just fluff to impress others? You know, this is when that intuitive, you know, really picks up on what doesn't work in the relationship, whether it's in a partner, or it's in a parent, or it's in a sibling, when they get that there's a lot of pretense or a lot of layering going on. So these are examples of expectations and performances, and performance of like, what do we have to do? What do we do to make other people feel good? There's so much emotions bouncing around. So what do we do with this? We've spent a lot of time identifying where it gets kind of messed up. So on my website, I put a holiday wish list, which really goes after how to address what is it that you want, like small amount, couple lines. What is it that you need? Bigger, right? What do you want to do over the holidays that really matters to you? What are the things that in these next 2 to 3 weeks when kids are home, out of school, when we can take some time off, what is it that you want to do? What do you want to do with me? And how can we craft something together that works really well for you so that you know that this is a special time for you? And then I'll share with you some of the things that I want to do, and then we'll craft how to fit that in. This requires that you are prepared to let go of some of those obligatory Christmas parties, holiday events, gatherings with family, things at work, things with girlfriends. If you have somebody who says, I really just want your undivided time because it disappears during this time of the year, then you have to take that to heart and go, oh, thank you. Thank you for sharing that with me. Be creative with the ideas and solutions that you come up with, because it's all about being flexible, being open, being willing to do something different, and listening, deep listening. Ask for these wants and needs. So then on this list on my website, there's also the one that's the biggest, which is, what do you want to do for others? How are you going to give back? What do you want to do for community service? What do you want to do for others? Do you want to shovel the driveways in the snow for some of the elderly? Do you want to take cookies down to a nursing home? Do you want to go visit somebody? Like have your list of what it is that you want to do for others that matters to them, and make that the very biggest part. So identify what is important, create time with each member so that they know what's important to them, and play. Let go of all of these constraints and play during the holidays. Remember, what a sensitive wants more than anything is to be seen and heard and empowered. And in the holidays, it's the thing that goes out the window the first. You want more information on how to do this and how to learn more about sensitives or learn more about parenting and ourselves? Give me a call. My number's on my website. You can find me at DeniseDrydenCoaching.com, and have a wonderful week. Enjoy your Sunday. Take care. Bye-bye.